There we go. There we go. So, welcome everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So, I'm just going to do a quick check whilst we're here. I've got some extra audio. I'm just going to do a quick check to make sure we're live on YouTube.
We are. I'm watching it.
So it's all good?
Yeah,
because it came up with a streaming area on my side.
No,
I didn't want to.
It's got about a 30-second delay on it.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So there we go, guys. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to what I think is going to be, or hoping to be, a series of little live streams where we discuss our favorite hobby, motorcycles. Today we've got Peter Phelps from Straight Cut Motorcycles, and we've got Jeff from far, far away down the coast, the lucky man by the beach, and then you've got myself, Sean, Undead Viking Zombie. So Jeff, you don't have a YouTube channel at the moment, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, and obviously then you've got Straight Cut Motorcycles. Peter, he's got a YouTube channel. Yep. So if anybody's out there watching, have a check him out and see what his channel's all about. So yeah, so first of all, today we're talking about our favorite motorcycle trips then, and let's start a little introduction in terms of what bike you guys are riding, how long you've been riding for, and where your favorite trip was going to. Let's start with Peter.
Yes, I've got two bikes. I've got the BMW K1200 GT, and I've just brought the Triumph Thruxton R as well. So I'm still running that one in at the moment. So it's only ever been round the block. But yeah, the BMW is the one I do all the touring on. I haven't been anywhere fancy. I've only been down to Cornwall a couple of times last year. I haven't got over. The plan was to go over to Europe this year, but obviously with everything going on, that's not going to happen at all, is it? Yeah. So I mean, I've only been riding for a year, so it's yeah. We'll see. See what happens.
So you've done a few miles already in the first year, though, haven't you?
Yeah. So my first bike was a Bandit. And then I had and then gone over to the BMW. So I think I worked out I did about 10,000 miles in the first year.
That's
two bikes. Yeah, it's probably nothing compared to what you can do. Yeah, how many miles have you done?
I've done a few.
Yeah.
You don't even get off the damn thing.
No, he sleeps with it. I got told he sleeps with it. So.
I think the reason for the pandemic is to keep me at home. I think somebody tried to jump on me and try and keep me at home. So I'm not very pleased with that. But what can you do?
Get you off your bike.
And yourself, Jeff?
Well, I've been riding for 40 years now.
Yeah.
Now I know I don't look that old, but it is true. I've been riding since 1980.
Yeah.
My very first bike was a Pooch Maxi moped, and there's a story behind that, but I might get to tell you that one later. But over the years, I've had probably 35, 40 different bikes.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm now on the ultimate pinnacle of motorcycling, which is the Indian Roadmaster, and absolutely head and shoulders the best bike I've ever had.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the business.
Yeah, I know. So obviously, as everyone knows, I'm a bit of an Indian fan myself.
Yep.
So I'm on a Indian Chieftain, and I think my favorite trip is pretty much wherever the road takes me. Although I like a little bit of adventure, and I basically, for me, I think the thing that makes my rides quite interesting is that I never plan anything. So whenever I decide I'm going to go for a ride, I wake up in the morning and decide that's it.
So you get to the end. You get to the end of the road and turn left.
Yes, well, all right, whichever way I fancy. I pick a direction and I just head off. So I never do any planning like that. Never know where I'm going to go. I just have an idea of how much time I've got, and I just head off and see where I go. So I never book any accommodation. The only thing that I do before I leave is, especially when I'm heading to Europe, is when I know I'm going to go in the morning, I book the tunnel.
Right.
But I buy a flexi ticket so that I can use it anytime. And it's also quite good to have a little stop off at, at the, what do you call it, that private sort of rest area. It's quite a nice break of the ride, because typically when you get there, I've already done about 150 miles.
Oh, that's the tunnel club class thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, so favorite trips then, guys. Let's start with you, Jeff. Tell us a little bit about where your favorite trip was to, and why that was. Or when I say favorite, I think maybe what you're going to share today may be a memorable trip rather than a favorite trip.
Trouble is, with 40 years of riding, there's been so many trips.
Yeah.
But the last one was in Germany. I was on a trip with predominantly Harley Davidson motorcycles.
Yeah.
There was 18 of us. I had my son Chaz with me, and we were touring around the Black Forest. Absolutely incredible scenery. We went to Bastogne and all over the place. So yeah, that's my Roadmaster there. But unfortunately, I did manage to write my bike off. In 40 years of riding, I've never ever had an accident.
Let's see if I can get a couple of photos of that, Jeff. Just one sec. I think
that was the bit of the frame that smashed off. Yes, we were on the autobahn. There was 18 of us. We were doing about 80 miles an hour. And as we crested the rise of a hill, all of a sudden, all of the traffic in front of us was stationary. So 18 sets of emergency stops from 80 miles an hour, and the machine in front of me was a trike, not a bike.
Wow!
So with 3 wheels, not 2, he was able to stop in 50 yards, and I was able to stop in 65.
Jeez.
And that was the result. I ended up going over the handlebars and over the top of the trike, and ended up with a short wheelbase Roadmaster.
Wow.
Which was a shame, because it was a absolutely beautiful bike. That bike had done 42,000 miles. It was a 2014 bike, and it was running like a dream.
I think Andy is joining us as well.
But the bit that was absolutely heartbreaking was when they dragged it up onto the trailer. They put a strap around the front wheel and winched it on. And as they were winching it on, it split in 2, broke its back and split in 2, and went up the trailer in 2 parts.
Wow.
And I just sat at the side of the road and cried. So, it was a memorable trip. But the rest of the trip was pretty good. And obviously lots of other... I mean, that was the bike before it got wrecked. Yeah.
So how did you end up finishing the trip then?
Well, basically, I didn't really at that point. I left the rest of them and got on a plane and flew home.
So just a quick one for anyone who can hear me. If you've got YouTube active, just make sure you turn the volume down, because otherwise it feeds back. So only volume to use is via the streaming software. I think that might be you, Andy. I'm not sure if you can hear us.
Put your headphones in, Andy. That's it. There you go.
Andy, you okay there? Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just a quick one. Make sure that if you've got YouTube active in the background, that the sound is off. Otherwise, it gives a lot of feedback.
I've turned.
Yeah. No. Yes. No. Okay, Jeff. Sorry, man. Carry on.
I've turned it off, mate.
Okay, that's brilliant, mate. Yeah, we'll get to you in a sec. All right. So yeah, Jeff. So how did you end up finishing the trip then?
Well, basically, we got on a plane and flew home, and that bike is still somewhere in Germany, as far as I'm aware.
No worries.
But yeah, one of the benefits of being riding for a long time is you have lots of insurance.
Yeah.
And I was comprehensively insured, so yeah, the ended up claiming on the insurance, because at the end of the day, nobody intends to have an accident, but sometimes you just do. And that was the first accident in 40 years of riding. And the fortunate thing was nobody was hurt.
Wow.
That was the main thing, that nobody was hurt, because yeah, that's always the most important thing, because bikes are replaceable. And as much as I love that bike, I managed to get exactly the same one again. But the one I got was a slightly newer version with less miles, and even better. So yeah, I looked at several other bikes when I was shopping around to replace it. I tried the Triumph Rocket. I tried the Ducati Diavel. That scared me. Yeah, that was just silly. Triumph Thunderbird. That was very nice. But none of them felt as good as the Roadmaster. And so I went and bought another Roadmaster. There you go.
Yeah, I must be honest. I'm quite surprised that you actually were going fast enough to get into an accident, Jeff. I mean, I've ridden with you, and you know, I'm a bit worried that you were going fast enough.
Hang on a minute.
He's flipping me off, isn't he?
How can you tell?
I was busy changing the background because I felt like I needed to go to the beach. I was no longer happy with the sunset.
Okay.
So I knew you were flipping me off, but I didn't see it. Anyway, guys, for those of you...
It was like that, actually.
For those of you who haven't caught up with Andy yet, Andy Hoyle is one of the friends that we met recently. Hey, Andy.
Hi, guys.
Thank you for joining us. And just a quick one for those guys, just as a bit of an intro. Andy, could you tell us about what bike you've got, how long you've been riding, and where your favorite trip was?
Right, I've got quite a few bikes, but my big road bike is a Harley Softail Deluxe. 2018 model. Yeah, I knew you'd turn your nose up. I've got friends with Indians that say they're more economical, faster.
How did that happen?
Mine runs. He doesn't start.
How did you get friends? How did you get friends with Indians?
Well, he obviously has mates who have taste. He's clearly got mates who have got good taste.
They must be very forgiving.
Yeah, he's okay. He's not a bad lad. Sorry, what was your other question?
And where your favourite trip was, or how long you've been riding? I'm not sure if you got that in.
Riding? Oh, crikey. 45 years now. I'm 58 now, so I've been riding a long, long time. I've had so many bikes.
You don't look that old.
Thank you. I've got about 7 bikes at the minute.
I mean, I had you at about 80 or 90, Andy. Is that right?
I felt like it, trying to struggle to get on this for you guys.
To be honest, this is my first ever live show that I'm hosting on YouTube, and one of my other mates recently put up the show, and I thought, no, hang on a second, let me try. So this is definitely a first for me as well. So don't worry, it's equally awkward for myself. Moving on, Pete, tell us a little bit about your favorite trip.
I mean, I've done quite a few last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, going out with Jess all the time, I was constantly out on the bikes together. But I think the best one for me was my solo that I did down to Cornwall, down to Land's End. The wife and kids went to her mum's down in Bournemouth for the weekend, so I decided to get up and head down to Cornwall. That's me and Jess. I think that's one of the first trips we went off together. So yeah, I mean, we've been over to Wales and that, but yeah, definitely the solo trip for me down to Cornwall. It took me, I think, 13 hours to get down there. Didn't touch any motorways.
You need a faster bike. That's the problem.
It wasn't about getting down there quick. It was about getting. For me, it was, I just wanted to go A roads and B roads, and I don't like going from A to B. I'd rather do that to get to where I want to get to.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, I mean, I left.
Was it Cornwall Motorfest you went to?
Yeah, we've been there. Yeah, we went there
because I went there last year as well. My son Chaz was moving that weekend. Yeah. So in order to make sure that I wasn't around to help with the move, I ended up going down to Cornwall Motorfest. And sorry, Chaz. It was an essential trip. And so his mum and his brother helped him move instead. So I've done my share of house moving. So I ended up going down there on my own as well. It's a lovely part of the world down there.
Oh yeah. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I mean, I must admit, I am a fan of the Indians now. I never used to be, but they are growing on me.
Boys, I'm feeling like the odd one out here.
Well, I mean, that is your fault, though, isn't it?
If you look at the live comments, Commander Chaz is my son Chaz, who I was just telling you about moving, and he was with me in Germany when we crashed the first Roadmaster.
Wow!
So, apparently you was blurring out the Rat Pack, according to him.
Yes, we have a lot of music that we were playing. And of course, the beauty of the Indians is they've got a superb sound system on it, and I've got about 1,800 different songs on a USB stick. So everything from Mozart to Pavarotti to the Beatles to Dr. Feelgood, you name it, it's on there.
Jeff, mate, you forget I know you. I know you way too well. There's only one song you play, and that's called Mustang Sally.
Well, that's one of them. There are others.
No wonder you crashed, Jeff.
Yeah, we went for a ride. With Jeff a few weeks ago. Well, when I say a few weeks ago, a few months ago now. Yeah, it feels like the other day. And we went to visit him around his neck of the woods. And I think in the short run we did, which was, I don't know, 15, 20 miles, whatever it was, I must have listened to Mustang Sally about 25 times.
It's a good song.
At full volume. I'm surprised your speakers. How often do you change your speakers? Once a week?
Never had to change them at all. The bike is just perfect.
Shows you what class the bikes are, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, usually people can hear the music before they hear the bike.
Yeah.
So they'll hear me coming, usually from about a mile away.
Yeah.
Another thing I listen to a lot is Frank Sinatra. That's always quite good. You can't beat a bit of Blue Eyes on the bike.
Yeah, I'm not sure I know what you're talking about.
Well, one of these days you'll end up with some class, and then when you do have, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
I really hope not. I'm not sure I can put my face in public if that had to happen.
Oh, I'm sure you could. You'll be all right.
Andy,
Yes, mate.
tell us a little bit about your trip. You went to the Rockies, I believe, wasn't it?
I did last year with a friend.
Yeah.
We both retired from the police, and we decided that we want to do a trip. I want to do Route 66,
Yeah.
but he'd already done that. So we did Denver in Colorado, all the way up into Alberta and that into Canada, British Columbia, and then back to Denver. So we did 18 days,
Yeah.
just under 4,000 miles. The photo there, that's me picking up the bike in Denver at Mile High. Sorry, Harley.
That's
Davidson
easy for you to
shop.
say.
Yeah, I know.
Or
See
not.
teeth. I'm running them in for the dog.
Breaking them in for Esther Ranson.
I mean, the trip was fantastic. What I didn't envisage was the difference in the weather. In June, you'd think it'd just be sort of t-shirt weather all the way along, but no. When you're going through those Rockies, you're into snow, you're into ice.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say about this picture on the screen.
That does look a little bit frosty.
That was really, really frosty. That was the day we tried to get through. We'd gone to a place in Wyoming called Jackson's Hole, and it's borders on to Yellowstone Park. So we were due to ride through the park on our way up to Canada, and we got 27 mile into the park, got to the main doors or the main bit of Yellowstone, and they closed it because of the snow. So we had to have a diversion, which over here you expect probably 50 mile. We diverted 200 mile, and we gave up then for the day. We just let our accommodation go for the night and bedded down where we could. But yeah, it was spectacular. Thunderstorms like I've never seen.
Yeah.
Stuck in the middle of places that when I woke up in the morning, you look around and there's bears everywhere and moose and stuff like that. And yeah, it was special. Really special.
I can't imagine seeing you, Bear. that's not really that's a thought I really don't want to have in my head. So
no, you don't. You don't. Been all right a few years ago, but not now, Jeff. Whatever it is now, it looks like it needs ironing.
Yeah. So tell me, were you guys camping or were you getting some accommodation? Because I think accommodation is probably the sensible thing.
Yeah, we did. We booked the first 3 nights at different locations, and then we just winged it. Every day we'd ride, we'd do a couple of 100 miles, we'd pull over for something to eat, and then we'd get onto TripAdvisor and stuff and find somewhere, a motel, a hotel, a B&B or whatever. And we stayed in some good places, we stayed in some rough places, but on the whole, we met a lot of bikers. There's a lot of guys out there that are ex-vets from the Vietnam and places like that.
Yeah,
and yeah, they
were
good.
With over 40 years of riding, I've met all sorts of people in all sorts of places. Yeah. Haven't yet met a biker I didn't like.
No.
They've all basically to a man been really nice guys. Yeah, there's a couple of arseholes out there, but you know what? They're usually on Harleys, so that's okay. Don't worry about them. But, yeah, all the proper bikers. No,
I'm feeling picked on.
some of my, in fact, one of my best friends has a Harley Street Glide CVO, and he and I go riding a lot together. And of course, both bikes are similar sizes, similar weights, similar power rating, etc., etc. And you know what? You couldn't slide a fag paper between them. They're both brilliant bikes.
Yeah.
Really, really like them. And yeah, it's. I know we take the mickey out of Harley riders, but it's not the Harley riders. It's the Harley riders that think if it ain't a Harley, it's shit.
Yeah.
Those are the ones we take the piss out of.
Yeah.
Because that's not bikers. That's just indoctrination.
No.
But to me, it doesn't matter what you ride, just so long as you actually ride.
Yeah.
Well, I need to argue a little bit with that. I do discriminate.
Oh, you're welcome to try, Sean. But you know.
No, I do discriminate a bit. I must be honest. I can stand a Harley, like almost.
No,
but a scooter
to be
is not
fair,
for me.
They do make some nice machines, And
No,
one of the ones I liked, which was never very popular, was the V-Rod.
No, it was very fast.
It was a cracking bike, the V-Rod. I rode a few of them and thoroughly enjoyed it. But again, because it was water cooled, a lot of the Harley purists didn't consider it to be a real Harley.
Yeah,
I get where you're coming from. I think there's a lot of different opinion on that. So I actually, to be honest, I mean, I grew up loving Harleys, so I've got nothing against Harleys. I love the bike. I've got no issue with it at all.
I've got to say, guys, I mean, we had Road Kings. We had 2 Road Kings.
Yeah.
We picked them up. We did 4,000 miles. They didn't miss a beat, and they were comfortable.
Yeah,
and they just did everything you could possibly ask. Some of the roads weren't even roads. They were like fire roads and full of potholes and stuff like that. And you were almost stood on the pegs, trials riding around some of these things. And they were capable.
There's a friend of mine in Guernsey. He's got a 1945 ex-World War II Harley WLA. Yeah. And I had a go on this thing. And it was weird because it had a foot-operated clutch, hand gear lever,
hand change,
and 2 throttles, one on each hand. Because the military bikes, basically, it was so that you could still keep the throttle open, take your gun out, and shoot people while riding. And that took a lot of getting used to. And it was like riding a bike, but all the controls were in all the different places. So
all the military bikes, it was the other way around, wasn't it?
Oh. And once you got used to it, I suppose it would be fine. But a foot clutch just feels weird on a bike. But hey, at least I rode it round a field, didn't fall off it, didn't drop it, and didn't hit anything. So that was okay. Well,
unfortunately, I wasn't born in the 17th century, so I've got no idea how those bikes operate.
Yeah, there's just no respect for you today, is there, Andy? No respect for you today.
And he wants us to come back as well.
As Ricky Not So Martin was saying a little while ago, shots fired.
You talk about interesting trips. There was a trip I did the year before, around Normandy. And that was quite interesting, going to Utah Beach and Omaha Beach and all around there. And that was with a group of guys from Robinson's at the Foundry in Canterbury.
Yeah.
And predominantly Indian motorbikes. But we went through the tunnel at sort of 6 o'clock on the Friday evening. We came out the other side and it started to rain. And then the rain just got harder and harder. And, when you see the waves of rain on the road, it was absolutely coming down in stair rods. And by the time we got to our hotel at 10 o'clock, we were soaked to the skin. Then, because we arrived at 10 o'clock, they said, well, you weren't here by 8, so we've let your room out.
Wow.
And it's like, well, what are we going to do? And the person sat behind the counter actually shrugged. Fortunately for them, they were behind a security screen. So one of the group who spoke fluent French, after he finished swearing at them, ended up getting onto Google, hotel locally, which was about 20 minutes away, and spoke to this person. They said, right, we'll turn all the lights on and we'll wait up for you. And I had one of the most surreal moments of my life on this bit of the ride, because I was with a group of people I'd never met, somewhere in the middle of the country. I had no idea where I was. It was pitch dark and pissing rain. Yeah. And as we left, the rain got even heavier. And at one point, we're heading across country. So it was as black as your hat. Could not see a thing. All I could see was the tail lights of 3 bikes in front of me, the rain at a 45-degree angle in the headlamp beam, and all of a sudden there's about 15 or 20 red lights all up high in the sky. It's like, what the hell is that? And we found out the following day it was actually the warning light on top of the big windmill generators.
Oh, okay.
Big wind generators. But you couldn't see the generators. You couldn't see anything, just these red lights. and it was like something out of a Steven Spielberg movie.
Was that the first time you saw electricity?
Yeah, you're barking tonight, aren't you? Yeah, dear. But it was interesting.
Yeah, I've been in lockdown for way too long. I've lost my computer. I've lost all my
You've lost something. Fortunately for me, with this lockdown, I've lost weight.
You must be the only person in the country.
Yeah, I've piled it on. So
I've lost about 3/4 stone so far.
So let's talk about my little trip.
Oh, do we have
one?
Well, I'm going to go for Portugal.
Whereas he hasn't been.
Yeah. So mine is my Portugal trip. Let me just share the screen a little bit here. This was memorable for a good few reasons. Predominantly because it was a little bit of everything. So I would say for the first 1,000 miles, maybe 1,200 miles.
You met Boyzone there. Is that when you were on tour with Boyzone?
And he wonders why I make 17th century jokes. Yeah, so that's the Portuguese Boyzone, guys. And let me just do this so I can keep a straight face for a little while. So the reason why the trip was so memorable is because, again, it literally was a case of I woke up, that's it, I'm going to do something. I packed some stuff. I actually ended up packing too much stuff, got really fed up with it, threw half the stuff out of the bags on the floor in the garage. Packed what I could and left. And I think the first sort of 1,200 miles, I had nothing but rain. Going all the way through France, it was just absolute pouring rain. It's probably rivaling the weather you get in Scotland. And the first time I saw any kind of sunshine was when I hit Spain. And it was literally, as you got to the border, it's like a line, and suddenly there's sun. And it's basically you go through the mountains, up through the mountain passes, go through one of those tunnels, and you come out. You essentially go straight into Spain, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. Some of the most fantastic sort of sweeping bends, views. I mean, it was partly on the motorway still, but it was absolutely probably the most gorgeous motorway ever. And anyway, got through Spain, hit Portugal. And obviously, my thing is I go and visit all the Indian dealerships around the country as much as I can. So I did that all the way through France, and then these guys that I'm just share the screen quickly. I actually met when I got to Faro. So I literally, when I got into Portugal, I immediately ran straight into these guys. When I was looking for the Indian dealership, I couldn't find it. And I met these guys at a cafe, and they were the local sort of like bike gangs. And I went there. I said, look, what's happening with the bike life? They said, no, this is where we meet up. Why don't you come to this party? So I ended up at this party that night with all the local bike gangs, you know, like the 1% crowds. You had the Hells Angels. You had all of them there, 14 different clubs. It was their centenary. It was their centenary birthday bash. And it was absolutely amazing.
And no girls at all.
So again, no, there were some girls, but I didn't bring photos home because my wife might get a bit angry. So this guy,
I think she was more angry at those pictures.
This guy next to me over here I ended up getting him absolutely plastered because they were selling the beers at €1 a beer.
Wow.
So I started with my first round of 20 beers, and I bought a few of them.
You'd never catch me drinking that much beer.
So that was my first round, and literally I actually rode my bike there. So I was staying in Villamora at the Dom Pedro Hotel. So I actually drove there, which is about 30 miles away, on my bike. So I ended up having, I don't know how many beers. Then ran out of money. Had to go back to the shop, to the garage, to go and draw some more money because I only took cash. And came back, and I honestly, that other guy literally couldn't. He couldn't stand. He was absolutely legless. I left there at about 2 o'clock in the morning to try to sober up as much as I could, and then I had another trip back to the hotel. And so obviously along the way, I've met some really good people. Let me just see. This guy here was a guy I met in one of the dealers in France. He was such a great guy. When I got to Bordeaux, the shop was actually closed. And, unlike over here, they have their afternoon siesta. So between 1 and 3 o'clock, you don't get any of these guys open. So lucky me, I arrived there after doing how many thousands of miles to the shop. And they were shut. And I saw the guy, he's the owner as well. I saw him at the table and I was like waving at him. And he's like basically telling me to go away. They're shut. And I was like, no, please come here. Yeah. Please come here. And anyway, so after I chatted to him, he was like fantastic. Got me inside, showed me around the place. And he was really good. And obviously you can see the little board that he was pointing at there. And I think I thought that's the reason why I thought I'd share the photo. It's 4 wheels moves the body, 2 wheels moves the soul, and that's I suppose why we all ride. And anyway, so yeah, when I obviously the following day when I recovered, I obviously went to go and do a bit of riding around. This is one of the photos at the marina, which is near where I was staying. And then obviously this is some of the photos from when I was trying to get some of these. I was basically trying to photo hunt. Now, part of the problem in Portugal is that you can get near the beaches, but you can't get close enough so that you can take a photo with a bike. So one of the funny things.
That's because they're mainly naturist beaches, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I kept getting kicked off when I was there with my binoculars. But this photo here was
Is that because you were trying to see your willy?
Well, I haven't seen it for a while, but I've got a mirror and a
periscope.
You see the mirrors on the side of my bike. Those are removable. I use that. It's got a handle as well, so it's an extendable. Anyway, so this photo in particular, this is nowhere near where you're actually allowed to go with your bike or car. And I was looking around and I was getting frustrated because I couldn't find a place to take photos. So I spotted my opportunity, waited for the area to be clear, and I rode my bike through all the barriers and everything, snuck it in, parked it, jumped off. So I had my gloves and everything off so I could get ready, and jumped off, snapped the photos. And by the time I'd snapped the photos, somebody was coming to run and to kick me off. And I was like, really, really sorry. And I left. But that's the kind of thing that you have to do to get some decent photos. And it was definitely what do you call it? A bit of an experience. That's me. Pardon the stomach. And it's not every day you get a restaurant with a view like that.
No, they are nice.
Yeah. So that was a little bit about my trip. It definitely was. I think it was 8,000 kilometers in 9 days.
How many dealerships did you visit?
Oh, I can't remember now. I mean, there were 4 in France, 5 in France. Sorry, there were a few in Spain, and then because I had to zigzag across the country, so I didn't take a direct route.
Yeah. You managed to get a T-shirt from each one of them.
Say again?
Did you manage to get a T-shirt from each one of them?
No, some of them were real tight buggers. To be honest with you, as you get with everyone else, some of the dealers are really welcoming and others aren't. I think one of the issues that I had was that a lot of people couldn't understand or comprehend the fact that I was driving all that way just to visit dealerships. people thought that was a bit mad. I mean, I think I'm a bit normal, but maybe everyone else thinks I'm a bit loopy. But you never know.
Well, there's a big debate about normality because it all depends on who you are, and what's normal for you may not be normal for somebody else.
True.
Well, that is definitely true.
There's a big difference between normality and sociably acceptable, and that's where the difference is. A lot of people need you to be socially acceptable as opposed to normal.
Yeah, so let's talk. Moving swiftly on.
That's very deep, Jeff.
Yeah.
Very deep.
How deep do you want to get, mate?
So what happened was,
to get out of lockdown, mate.
For example, if you're a psychopath, it's perfectly normal to kill people.
So
if you're a psychopath, it's like Fred and Rosie only ever used to do their shopping on a Thursday because it was murder on Fridays.
So we had 5,000 viewers a minute ago. Jeff started talking, and we've dropped down to 1. And that's because it's his
Sorry, folks.
So we're getting to nearly to the end of it. So before we move on to the next bits, just from those people watching still, anybody got any questions for the panel? Let us know. I'll have a look and see if we can answer that as much as. Say again.
PSP, one from PSP, Tommy G.
Yeah, what's he saying?
Could Jeff explain why he likes the Indian Roadmaster, and has he compared or ridden the Harley Ultra Limited?
So before we get into that, let's just finish this bit, and then we'll do the questions at the end. So just remember, guys, throw the questions out there, and we'll get to them in a second. So just as a little bit of a roundup, we'll start with Andy. Andy, mates, what's your next trip?
I don't know. I really don't know. I fancied doing Europe. I'd like to do Spain. I'd like to go to Portugal like you've done. I work for a little Royal Enfield dealership a couple of days a week.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of people with Himalayans, and they do loads of adventures all over the place. So you pick up good tips listening to them guys and girls that come into the shops. And certain things just trigger in your blood where you'd like to go next. But I think probably once all this is out the way, Spain, Portugal, going to spend a little bit of time over there. But I would like to go back to the States as well.
Jeff, 30 seconds.
The dogs.
The trip I would have been doing this spring equinox was the east coast to the west coast.
Yeah.
And that was starting off in Lowestoft and ending up in Aberystwyth. There was about 30 guys coming with me. You were one of them. And literally all of this coronavirus business kicked off, and we had to postpone the ride about 3 days before we were due to leave because of social distancing and stuff like that. So we postponed that to the autumn equinox instead. So it's when it's a 12-hour day and a 12-hour night. So staying in a hotel in Lowestoft, you watch the sun come up, then you head west, stopping for lunch at the National Motorcycle Museum in Coventry, and then get to Aberystwyth, watch the sun set, and then end up in a very nice hotel there. So that'll be a good ride. That's something coming up. There's lots of places in Europe I'd love to ride around, but with the way this virus is, I think I'll keep my riding to the UK for the next 12 or 18 months. So there's plenty of good places here. Yeah. Go and do the NC 500 up in Scotland. There's some nice places around, the Lake District, stuff like that. Yeah, there's lots of beautiful places in the UK, and it's very easy to go over to Europe, etc. But actually, sometimes I think we underestimate how much good stuff we've got here in the UK. Yeah, so totally that's what I'm going to do. In answer to the guy's question about the Harley, I haven't ridden what was the model he said?
Ultra Limited.
The Harley Ultra Limited.
I've ridden the Street Glide CVO, which belongs to my friend Pat, and we've swapped bikes on occasions, and I've ridden his, he's ridden mine. After he rode mine, he then went and had his suspension upgraded to include air suspension. But it's they're perfectly good bikes, and I don't dislike Harleys, as I say. The Harleys themselves are great bikes. There's lots of them out there. What I don't like is the attitude of a lot of Harley riders, as we touched on earlier. But if you like all sorts of bikes, doesn't matter what brand it is. It doesn't matter what brand it is. You name it, I've had it. I've had everything from a Pooch Maxi moped to a Russian Dnieper sidecar outfit and all sorts of things. So, yeah, they're all great. Just the Indians the best.
You, Pete?
Yeah. First thing, stop encouraging my daughter and wife, will you, Sean? My daughter said, "Our wives allowed on these European tours?" Angie's Peter's wife, LOL.
My wife will go on the back of my bike for about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, but anything longer than that, and she won't go on it for any longer than that. So, she's very welcome to come along, but wife doesn't want to sit in the saddle for 10 hours a day.
She absolutely. I haven't got anything planned for this year. With my work, because I'm a refrigeration engineer, my busiest time is in the summer. Because we run our own business as well, I'm the only engineer, so I can't exactly walk away and leave it for anyone else to do.
Yeah.
So it's going to be beginning of the summer or just after the summer. But like you said, with the coronavirus and all this going over to Europe, pretty much out of the window till next.
Well, we're probably going to be locked down for another couple of months anyway. I reckon it's going to be August before this all breaks.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's just going to be just get the miles on the Triumph, get that up to its first service, and then or its running service, and then and then we'll see what happens after that. Maybe a couple of days trips, maybe a weekend away camping. I don't know.
Don't know about camping. Oh no, my idea of roughing it is 3 stars instead of 4. No, I'm not sure about this camping. But I'm a bit too old and comfortable for camping. I'd much rather stay in a nice hotel.
I'm all right. I'm still young.
Yeah, no, definitely. I wouldn't. I think for my idea of camping is staying in a 3-star hotel.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not my favorite, but in terms of my next trip, definitely, I think the moment this lockdown ends, and I mean the moment it is announced, I am jumping on my bike. I don't care what time of day or night it is, and I'm heading to Scotland. And
Who remembers Back to the Future with the flames coming off?
Yeah,
that's me.
It's going to be a flame down the road.
That's it. Honestly,
well, I'll tell you what, Sean. When it does end, I'll come with you to Scotland.
Yeah, honestly,
yeah.
I'm actually getting ready already. On it, the moment I can actually stay somewhere and do so legally, I'm out of here. And honestly, I actually, to be honest with you, I had a ride earlier today, which I absolutely loved. But, and let's just make sure that everyone gets this, I had work to do. So I had to go and check on a premises that had a problem with some squatters, and I had to go and help the landlords deal with the situation. But I tell you what, it just reminded me why I just need to get out on the road. And
I've been doing shopping for ourselves, for my mother-in-law, and also for my daughter.
Yeah.
So and bits and pieces like that. So I have been able to do some shopping trips on the bike because you can fit a lot of stuff in the boxes on the bike.
Yeah, I've done one so far.
So that was essential riding, but and of course the riding's also important for my mental health as well, because for me. Riding is a very selfish activity, and it doesn't benefit anyone else in my family except me, but it benefits me tremendously. If I've had a bad day, if I'm in a bad mood or anything else, by the time I get to the end of the road, my mood has lifted, the endorphins kick in, and your mood lightens, and it is good for your mental health, and it is good for your well-being, and I can get as much pleasure tootling along a sort of 30, 40, 50 mile an hour as I can is charging around with my hair on fire. It's just great to ride.
There's just one speed for me, Jeff.
Yeah, I've ridden with you, and you do ride like an idiot. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But hey, you ride like a man with a death wish.
If the throttle still has room to go, you're going too slow.
I give up now. I wait for it to slow down. I carry on down at a steady speed, and he soon starts coming back at me.
So I just want to do a couple of things. Ozarks, mate, good to see you. Thanks for watching. And then Pop, mate, sorry about getting your name wrong. I won't call you PSB again. I'll just call you Pop from now on. And so sorry about that, mate.
That's okay, Steve. Don't worry about getting people's name wrong. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm Bob. Actually, I'm PSP or Tommy. It's PSP Tommy. And I tried to respond, and I was typing, and it was on autocorrect. So I wrote PSP, but when I pressed enter, it went Pop. So Ozarks has been joking with Tommy. Everyone's going to start calling him Pop now. Yeah, Tommy Gunn, that's me. So, any other questions from anyone watching? Is there anything that anybody wants to ask?
Just having a look through some of the questions here. Yeah.
Yeah, just have a look.
Yeah, it all looks. Yeah, it's all right. Oh, sugar tits. Here we go. Yeah, the wife doesn't usually like music when she's on the bike, so I tend to just turn it off when she's on the bike. Although I do switch the heated seat on. And after about 10 minutes or so, she's jumping up and down because her arse is on fire. But
so there's one thing that I can think of.
Because do you know what? We've spent more time together in the last 4 weeks than we have in the previous 12 years. And do you know what? What's really nice, actually, we've discovered how much we like each other. So that's quite handy.
That's good.
So you know what the funny thing is?
And running out of jobs to do around the house. We've tidied the garage, tidied the office, decorated the lounge, done cleaned every vehicle we've got.
This is where he moves the camera around and she's sat gagged and bound in the corner of the room.
Well,
that's a whole different channel. Let's not go.
The funny thing is, I go out late
that's a whole different channel.
I go out late at night and I dig a hole, dig a grave outside in the garden.
Normally, every time you open your mouth, you dig a hole.
Every day, I'm out there digging this, and it's all perfect and it's ready. And then I get up in the morning, but I get up a bit late. My wife's been up early, and the hole's been filled in again. So she scuppers my plants every day.
You should look up in the sky at night and thank your lucky stars, fella, that you've got a woman who put up with you.
It's not everyone that will put up with me.
Very true. Very true.
I am a little bit of a unique individual in a few ways.
It's called an acquired taste.
Well, I would say if an ex-friend of ours was there listening, he would probably call it Marmite. Pete?
Well, hey ho.
Anyway, guys, thank you for coming on the show tonight and joining us.
I'd like to say it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been great.
I'd like to.
You know, I really try not to show fingers on the screen.
You're not going to get an invite. You know that, don't you?
So let me see how. Hang on a second. Let's try it again. Move it over. Look.
Yeah.
I hope when you did this, when you clicked not for kids.
Say again?
And I hope when you set this all up, you clicked not for kids.
Yeah, but Jeff joined anyway.
Listen, there's only so much luck you can have in one day, fella.
Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us. Those who've been watching, guys on the panel, thank you very much. Really appreciate chatting with you tonight.
Thank you. Sorry about the technical difficulty at the beginning.
Yeah, well, you've got it right.
It's good night from me, and it's good night from him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pass me that beer, Jeff. Where are you?
Yeah, where's the beer? Can I have a beer?
Hey!
Oh, hang on.
There we go.
Up there, Simon.
Actually, we should do that. We should do one of those handover challenges.
Yeah. Hang on, lean over. I'll scratch your ear for you. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, got
that's better.
Oh.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
See you
Keep
guys.
well.
Guys.
Cheerio.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Stay
Bye.
safe.
Yeah, make sure you're out safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, be
See you
safe.
later, guys.
Yep.
Bye.
Cheerio.
Bye.